Hello friends, here with the Lonesome Gamer, and today I'm gonna play 2038 Tycoons of the Asteroid Belt. It's published by Tim Jim Games and Prism Games, and the designer is Tom Lehman, and it's also the guy who did the pretty popular 1846, which got a reprint by GMT. And there are some ideas that show up in this earlier 18XX game. And just a shout out to the guy who left a comment on one of my Arkham Horror videos, who said the only trains he wants to see are the trains to Arkham. Well, this time it's spaceships. I hope you prefer those. Yeah, okay, let's set up the game. Okay, so I'm playing a 6-player game here, and well, overall, in general, the game has, that's kind of interesting. A few months ago, the game had a fairly low rating, about I think 6.8 or something like that on BGG. When I checked today, it was actually at 7.1, which is a little more solid actually. It's a pretty solid rating. 7 something is okay basically. I mean, okay, it's kind of arbitrary, but somewhere you kind of have to draw the line, and I usually do that at 7.0, you know. Games below that are often pretty questionable. I mean, not always, but often. And I find it interesting that there was this kind of jump from a game which is actually a fairly old game, and it manages to make these percentages or these, yeah, these this increase in ratings. I find that a little odd. Maybe the reason is that 18XX becomes more popular, that more people are rating these games, and maybe that helps a little. I don't know. Okay, anyway, I want to play a 6-player game. Now, 6 is not recommended from the community. However, I'm playing with the expansion. And there is a print and play expansion set, an official print and play expansion set, and I'm going to use that. And basically, what it does, first of all, it adds 2 new companies. This one here, the on-site refining, and another one back here, the mining robotics. And so there are more companies available, which usually makes it then also more interesting for a higher player count. This also increases certificate limit. We have now here a new certificate limit with 10 corporations. So for 6 players it's 13. It also adds a few ships. But not that many. I think it still has proportionally less ships than if you would play with the full amount of ships and your and just 8 companies. So there is also a variant with the game which allows you, in this game usually the companies come out in tiers, right? There is now here a variant which kind of gives you a variable starting option, and I'm not going to use that. I'm just simply at the new corporations, and then there is a stock repurchase rule, which should be used in general now as a standard rule. That is at least mentioned by the designer somewhere. Yeah, there is a lot of, it's not very, whatever. Okay, cool. So anyway, I'm going to use the stock repurchase rule. I'm going to play with 2 additional companies, which means we have a few additional ships, higher certificate limit, and also one company gets 2 additional claims. We get to that in a minute. Okay, as you can see now, this game is in many ways different than other 18xx games, but maybe less different than you might think. So the big deal is probably that as you can see here, well, it takes place in space. Okay, so you're not running trains, you're running ships, which is itself not such a big deal. But the thing is, you're not running on kind of a terrain map, but you have to explore the map. And we have these random asteroids here. And each asteroid has resources that you can pick up. And they come with different values. And yeah, so your goal is basically not to stop at a specific amount of stations, but you want to try to pick up specific resources. How this exactly works, we're going to see a little later. Now, every company has a fixed starting position, bases, and these are these gray bases here. Now, the gray ones with a black square, these are the starting positions for the minor companies. So these ones here, these 6 ones are minor companies. And we have then 10 gray starting positions, and these are now added by that one here and that one. They are not pre-printed. They come with the expansion, and the others are the starting spaces for the major companies. So basically down here, up here, here, that one and this one. In addition to that, we have the so-called transshipment points. These guys, they are a little similar to off-board areas in a way, and we'll get about this. We get toward this during the playthrough. Just wanted to show you this. Now at the beginning of the game, we have an auction, like in many other games of 18xx, and we're going to see private companies and minor companies that will be auctioned off. And there is a numerical order here. You can see the numbers here at the upper right, which goes basically from 0 up here down to 11. Okay, and now number 0, and then from number 7 on, these are all, well, kind of your normal private companies. So basically you can simply buy them, they pay out a fixed value, and most of them you then can sell for to a company, which gives the company some special ability. So that is pretty much, there's an exception to that, but in general it's kind of your private companies. Companies 1 to 6, though, are minor companies, and they will operate on the map. As I've said, they have their own base here. They have they gotta build ships, and they work a lot like major companies with a few restrictions. And okay, so, and you gotta bid on these guys. Now, minimum bid is written here, and it works pretty much the same as 1830. And by the way, again, if you don't know anything about 18xx, watch my 1830 video or some other introductory video. Even though this game is very different, I'm not gonna go through all the 18xx rules. I assume that you know the basic 18xx system. So, and here you don't have to pay high. The first bid doesn't have to be higher. It can be equal that, and then it has to be increased in at least five higher than the previous bid. What's kind of special here, once you placed a bid, if you got outbid on a specific company, you can basically take the money back and use it for another bid, for example. So as long as you're not the highest bidder, your money is not locked once it is placed, but you can remove it again. The game is not totally clear if you can remove parts of it or everything, but I guess it makes only sense if you have to remove everything, because otherwise you could basically just remove everything. I don't know. I think it makes sense that you can. Yeah, either you really withdraw from the bidding war completely, or you leave your money sitting there. That's the way I'm going to play it, at least. So it's a little tricky what to bid on. What's kind of interesting is that as I already said, the companies come out in tiers. And the first company that has to be started is the Trans-Space Incorporated. Now, this one here, company 10, the Space Transportation Company, comes with the presidency of the TSI. And companies 7, 8, and 9 each come with a share. Now, what I realized during my first play is, if a player manages to get control over, let's say, 4 or 5 shares of this company early in the game, this is super strong. It is extremely strong. The TSI is an extremely strong company, especially at the beginning of the game, but I think all through the game. I mean, I just played it once, but the TSI was one of the most powerful companies all through the game, and at the first half or so, it was completely dominant. So basically, the game was already kind of done once it was clear that one of the players, I think he managed to get the presidency and I think 1 or 2 shares. At least I think after the first stock round or so, he was sitting on 50% of the TSI, which was extremely powerful. My idea was that it's very important to have these minor companies, and I tried to get control over, maybe I played only a 4-player game actually when I played Solitaire last time, and I tried to get control possibly over 2 minor companies. But now I'm actually thinking, hey, maybe getting control over shares of the TSI might be even more important than getting control over the minor companies. But that's really hard to tell. It really is. In this game, companies float at 50% and we have a full capitalization. So that means basically once all these shares are, or all the privates are sold, the TSI will automatically float. In theory, it is possibly in this game that, like in other games too, that not all the shares get sold and there will be operating rounds so that the TSI for some reason will not float, for example. But I think that's pretty unlikely. So it is extremely likely that TSI will float right in the first operating round. And yes, so probably players should really try to avoid the situation that one player holds more than one of these privates with TSI shares. Now there is another company here, that is the Asteroid Export Company. That company is kind of interesting. It's the player who holds that private company is allowed from phase 3 on. He has the option to start the Asteroid League. Now the Asteroid League reminds me of some of the national companies, or for example in 1856 the Canadian Railroad or something. The Asteroid League, well, let me say it that way. Minor companies without a ship, that are not able to buy a ship, will join the Asteroid League once it has formed. Okay? So that means that and they also can do so voluntarily. So that means that the Asteroid League will get pretty soon a number of bases and a number of claims, all that stuff that they basically get from the minor companies. In addition to that, they start on a fixed par value, which is pretty high, and also get they get a good starting treasury of 250. So that's not a bad share or a bad company, and it comes with a fixed income of 30, which is also kind of neat. Of course it's expensive. I mean, 180 is a lot of money. Starting money is only 300 in a 6-player game, so that's a big deal. To be honest, I'm not even sure if we will be able. I think we will. Yeah, it should be possible to sell all the companies. I think that should be possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of randomize that, roll some dice, and I think I'm going to come back after this thing, and I'm going to give a little bit of higher odds probably to these companies here, but it's hard to tell for me. There's another aspect which is kind of interesting. The companies operate in numerical order. The minor companies operate in numerical order. So that means that, let me say it that way, we got 10 of these one ships here, and basically during the first operating round, 6 of them will go to the minor companies. Then we're going to see at least 1, probably more, going to the TSI, which means there will be, I don't know, something between 1 and 3 ships of these cheap ships left after the first operating round, right? So 6 for the companies, and let's say, I don't know, 1, 2, maybe 3 for the TSI. Overall, we got 10. So let's say we got 2 or 3 ships left, right? Which is, I think, realistic. Okay, so the thing is that these companies will try to get a second ship. And the companies that operate first have much better odds to get a second ship, because they can afford that ship for 100 much easier than later on for 175, because a company basically starts with only $100, and then I'm going to go into more detail about that later. Anyway, the thing is that the lower numbered companies have a better chance to get a second ship early in the game. So therefore, it might be an advantage to go with one of these first 2 companies here. So things actually developed very differently to what I was expecting. You can see nearly all the bids went on that. I mean, I'm not at the end of the auctioning round yet, but it's kind of you can see that a lot of bids went in here. And what I really like about this, you have these bid markers here. I wish there would be in more games. Comes in very handy, especially if you're playing with more players. You can easily mark the bids. And yeah, one player actually wanted to get the Asteroid export, one player the Vacuum Associates, all the others heavily focused on the minor companies. Now we come to an interesting factor here. Player 1, for example, I think what he's going to do now, he's got $50, he's got $100 left. What he's going to do is he's going to buy the planetary imports, because if he does so, he will get these 2 minor companies for sure. That's pretty insane, and I'm absolutely sure he's going to do that. It makes no sense to do something different. So he goes for that, grabs the planetary imports for $50. And now the first bidding between these 2 players starts. For the first corporation, that's player 4 and player 5. And you know, the thing is now, if he says, hey, fuck it, I don't necessarily need that company, he still has the option to bid on one of these later companies. So it's probably not such a great idea to bid terribly high. So I think what I'm going to do is, on a 1 to 3, I go to 110, and I won't. So that means this guy gets for 105. I mean, maybe I should have risked a little more. Fastbuck is really a good company. I'm going to let him reconsider that. I'm going to make him another 1 to 3 roll. Okay, well, nope. He said, wait. I think I'm going to throw in a few more bucks. So that means he's going to throw in 10 more bucks. Fastbuck is really a good company, so I think you don't want to give that away too easily. Okay, the other player, I already have my kind of, I got a sheet with kind of personalities. And this is a pretty aggressive guy, so he really wants that on a 1 to 5. He's going to continue the bidding. And look at that. He probably will drop out here. Let's see, is he involved somewhere else? Well, down here at Torch. It's an interesting question. And the interesting thing is that actually player 4 is also bidding against him here at Torch. So that's a very interesting situation, because he might actually place a higher bid here, and then if the player goes higher there too, he's got good odds to outbid him in Torch. So I think he might actually also reconsider that. and on a 1 to 5. I mean, it's very reasonable to do that. I will actually try to, yeah, I'm going to place a higher bid too. So we're going to throw in, actually we're going to throw in 10 more bucks. I think it makes sense here. Because, yeah, he's a direct competitor for another company. Otherwise, I would have probably dropped out here. Now this guy, now it becomes really questionable. And I'd say, okay, this time I really make it a 1 to 3 and I'll go away. Okay, I will. So this guy pays 115. Now what happens is that this is a minor company, as I already said, fast buck, and it will receive a starting money from of 100 plus half the amount paid above 100. Okay, so basically 108 bucks then, right? Okay, that's what they start with. If the money would have been, if there would have been a bid of 150 or so, they would have started at 125, for example. So again, kind of interesting. Didn't quite expect that. Drill Hound goes for quite a bit of money. This is 35, I think, 135. So that means that the goes to player 5. So that money goes back to player 2. And we have a starting value of, gosh, 118. Does that make sense? Yeah, or is it 100? No, it's 117, I think. It's rounded down, I guess. Yeah, so that's 117. Okay, cool. Then we see here Ore Crusher between 2 and 3. Okay, now he placed a big bet here on the 180 for the Asteroid League. So it's simple. The guy will simply outbid him here on Ore Crusher, which means he's got to basically pay. He can pay an additional 15 bucks. So that's 120, and he will pay an additional 25. So Ore Crusher will be purchased for 125. That means for 112 bucks. That's the starting capital of Ore Crusher. I mean, if you know that your enemy basically only has, I don't know, 10 or 20 bucks left, it's obvious you're simply going to outbid him, right? And okay. So the next company is then Torch, and that is again between player 4 and player 6. And now that's an interesting thing. Player 6 is still sitting on 75, 70, 80 bucks, right? This guy has much more, but he's not willing to bid, something like 200 bucks for that thing. So we might actually see a bidding war for these things still. Okay, Torch starts actually for 120. That means they get 110 as into their company treasury. Oops. Cool. Lucky goes for 100 bucks to the lucky player 1. He really played that in a clever way. He's now sitting on 3 companies, the small one, Planetary Imports, and 2 minor companies, Icefinder and Lucky. And I think that's probably a very good position. The others kind of missed that. But of course we see a lot of interesting shares out here. And now that's the big question, right? Who triggered that whole crap? That was him. So that means, because he purchased the Planetary Imports and from there on it dropped. That means now that first player is sitting here. Okay, that's interesting because he can now simply buy Tunnel Systems for 120. And I don't see a reason why he wouldn't. You know, it's a good company and he is limited. He only has, he still has 160, 170. He could bid on the robot smelters, but honestly, I don't think that is super good. And then if he doesn't get it, it doesn't really do him that much good. So I don't know. I think on a 1 to 5, I'm going to bid on the Tunnel Systems. And I will. I'm simply going to buy that thing for 120. And now these are standard Maya privates, right? So they don't come with a starting capital or so. They're simply paid out 120. Okay. This guy, and now the first player goes here, by the way. This guy, player 5, now gets this thing here for 140 automatically. Okay. And now he has the option to buy the robot smelters for 160. Does he want to do that? Well, he can. And I think he will. Why not? I think he will, yeah. So that's 160. That means he gets back 15 bucks. I'm going to give him a really unlikely roll to reconsider that. On a 1, he will think about it. No, he's going to take that. I don't think it makes sense not to take it. Now this guy gets the new priority at that point, and he's out of money. Okay? So the Space Transportation Corporation would be the next one for 180, and that gives the presidency. So that means he's got to pass. So let me see how much money he has. He holds 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 100 bucks. 150. I think that's enough. 160, 170, 180. Yes, that's enough. And yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to get that. That's a very strong company. It will always start for 100 bucks. That is I think that's kind of mandatory for the TSI, yeah. So the share, it's a double share, it's presidency. It would be stupid not to do it. So yeah, he does it. There is no reason not to do it. So he buys that one for 180 bucks. And there we go. Okay, cool. Now, in addition to that, he gets this device which looks like a dildo, but it is instead a space probe. And this basically belongs to the company. Oh yeah, and we get shares. So these two guys get each a TSI share. Okay, there are the shares here. So this comes with a share, That comes with a share. This thing here comes with the presidency. Oh, now that's kind of odd. There are only 4 shares. No, there is another share here. Okay, that means the company is already floated. If a company is floated, then the remaining shares go into the public corporation share box. Okay? And that is basically another name for initial offer. So players simply buy the shares from here, the money goes into the bank, and shares that sit here don't give any dividend for the company. And now, last is the Asteroid export company, and this is for player 3. So that one goes here, and he's the only one who is still holding a fair amount of money, 120 bucks. That's not that great, I guess, because, I mean, it gives him 30 bucks income, which is cool, but it would be cool for him to have a second company, and yeah, he kind of messed this up. So, because now he's sitting on that money, and he's not going to be able to start a company. Minimum share value for a company is 67. The Asteroid League, which he holds the presidency, cannot be started before phase 3. And therefore, he's going to need something like 5 times 67, which is 335. And he doesn't have that, and it will take him a while to get there. And that's a problem, because, I mean, okay, he could buy shares of the TSI, or at least one share, so that will generate some income, and yeah, he possibly will do so, I guess. Okay. Yeah, look at that. It looks more like a war game than like an 18xx game. But these are all the claims and bases and all the crap of the different companies. And these are all the miners, the black ones. So we're going to take them for now. And yeah, place the 2 claims that each miner comes with. It's written here. We're going to place them here. And yeah, cool. So we have a nice marker here and a neat overview over the game phases. And well, it says here transshipment points are worth the lower printed values. As you can see here, it's like the offboard areas. You got 2 values here, and at that point they're only worth the lower ones. Corporations and independent companies may buy only spaceships from the bank and their own claims. Corporations may own 4 spaceships. Independents may own 2 spaceships. Okay. We always have 2 operating rounds. So this thing goes now simply here, and after 2 operating rounds, the next stock round starts. Now, during the operating rounds, first the private companies will pay out. Okay, so let's do that. Start up here, and this is a $10 income. Here we got 5. $30. This guy gets 15. he's 10. And for him, it's 20. Okay, then there's a special company. Now, all the companies in this game are basically special, right? And all the corporations, they all have special abilities. That is also a pretty unique thing in this game. We have here now Fast Buck. And it says place $15 in Fast Buck's treasury when the private company owners are paid their income. So that means he also gets now $15, but that money goes into the treasury of the company. Okay. So, then after the privates did operate or paid out, the minor companies will operate, and they operate in ascending order. So we start with Fast Buck, and then it's number 2, which is over here, Ice Finder, and so forth. And we have these 2 little player aids here, which are pretty helpful. And there's a lot to do for companies in this game. And they have to do that in a specific order, like in other 18xx games too. But this order is very different, and also the things they can do are kind of different compared to other 18xx games. Now, during the first operating round, where there are no spaceships and so, there is not too much to do. First, you can run your routes. That's the first thing you do in this game during an operating round. You run the routes. Then you pay out, or you don't. And then you may buy a ship. Okay, now a minor company does not need to buy a ship. It doesn't have to own a ship. The corporations do, the miners don't. But of course they want a ship. So the cheapest ship is $100. Now, a company can decide, you can see it, as in other games, you have to always buy the cheapest ship from the bank, if you buy ships from the bank, but the ship come with 2 sides. There's this one here. This is a tug, and that one here, which is a scout. Okay. So the scout, these ships both have a range, which is the higher number here on the left, and then a cargo capacity, which is the lower number. And you can see that the Scout has a higher range but a lower cargo capacity compared to the Tug. So basically, with a higher range, you can explore better and go obviously longer distances, but you cannot grab that much money. Okay, so let's see which. These 2 ships cost the same. They both cost $100. That will change. Usually later in the game, the Scouts are cheaper than the Tugs. And once they are purchased, you cannot change the type of ship. Okay, you place them depending on which side you bought it. You place them accordingly on your sheet, and from then on, this card will always remain that side up for the rest of the game. Okay, so here's the thing. I want a second ship as soon as possible. Now I'm sitting here on I cannot trade ships between companies yet, so I could not buy with the TSI and then sell it to Fast Buck, simply because this is only allowed from phase 2. Okay, so I'm sitting on $20 here. Okay, so the thing is now, if I run the ship, and I'm going to explain a little later how exactly that works, but the thing is, I can basically, if I'm not paying out but withhold, I could make at least $50 next turn with a scout. I would add $20, which brings me to 70. In addition, I would get $15 because it's Fast Buck's special ability. I'm not at 100. So I would not be able to buy a ship at the beginning of next turn, even if I swallowed. If I'm super lucky and explore something cool, I might get a chance, but I don't think that's going to happen. The other option would be to buy this. In this way I could pick up one additional good. Honestly, I think I have better odds buying this thing. So yeah, I think that's what I want to do. I'm going to go with a tuck. At least, let's say on a 1 to 5. Oh, okay. So I'm going to go with a scout instead. I think that's not very clever, but okay. So I purchased the scout, and that's pretty much all I can do for now. And now we continue like this, and basically that's all the different companies can do. They can simply buy a single ship at that point. So all the miners have operated, and interestingly enough, many of them have purchased a scout. That the die rolls were a little odd there, but well, basically we've seen 3 tucks and 3 scouts. The miners are not tracked here on the company on the market table. So yeah, they have no share price or something. There are also simply no shares available for them. So then it's the TSI, and the TSI now can start. They can run the first ship of the game because they start the game with a probe. That is basically their specific ability. They got this probe, but the probe has no carrying capacity. So they only have they can only move 4 spaces with the probe. And now let me explain to you how the movement actually works. So basically what you do is, every ship of yours has to start at one of your home bases. Can be the same base, doesn't matter, but they have to start at a home base of yours. Or one of your bases. It doesn't have to be a starting base, right? During the game you can still buy other bases, but each ship of yours has to start at one of your bases. So the TSI base is here, so that means the probe has to start there. Now we got to think about where we want to go. I'm considering going north, or whatever that is here, and this is towards the sun and the inner planets in this direction. This is outside, so basically, yeah, we're going kind of following the direction of the asteroid belt, and So the thing is, here for example, there is a base that gives us additional money for rare elements delivered. Here's a base that gives us additional money for ice delivered. Here's a base that gives us always $30 if we go there. So maybe that's also not bad, but we might also go for the rares and hope to find something of interest there. So again, I will actually start and maybe simply roll a die here. But you know what? I'm going to explore these. Yeah, I think I'm going to explore these 2 hexes. So the way that works now is you simply have to kind of fly your ship, right? So basically, this ship now has a distance of 4. So to enter a new hex costs you 1 movement point. And I want to continue, it's another movement point. To go here is another movement point. Fine. I can fly through unexplored hexes. There is no restriction. I can even fly through other companies' bases. There is no blocking in this game. Can just fly wildly across the map. The only thing is I cannot fly off map, obviously. So, but I can also explore a space, and to do that, I've got to spend an additional movement point. So I'm going to go in here, and I want to explore that space. So that whole thing costs me 2 movement points now. And now we come to these tiles, and we're randomly gonna draw one of them, and I can see some 18xx players now getting a heart attack in front of their monitor because there's randomness in the game. Yes, that is indeed the case. So we draw the tile, and look at that. That's not a bad start at all. We have now here 2 resources or 2 mines. This here is rare elements, and this here is nickel. I mean, they're both not the best. They don't give a ton of money. There are, for example, rare elements and also nickel, which give you more, but okay. It's a start. So we go here and place that. We got to place that thing there, obviously. So that's not so bad, because now we can actually try to make our way in this direction here, because here we make more money if we deliver rares. Problem is, though, I cannot even get there, I think. I got a 3 and a 2. Yeah. So I can only move 3 spaces. So it's 1, 2, 3. I can only go here. I cannot even make it to there right now, which kind of sucks. Interesting. Okay, so what do I want to do instead? I'm gonna stick to my plan, I think. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna go here and explore that space, because I can go here to that base, to our transshipment point. These ones are transshipment points, and yeah, I can go there, and you're gonna see later why that is important. So I'm gonna go in this other space and draw a tile here. And these are 2 nickels, and you can see already a difference. They're a little bit darker. Maybe you can see that here in comparison. And they give you a little bit more money. It says 2060, and this says 1050. So this is a little, the nickel value is better here. Okay, cool. That's it. The ship has spent its 4 movement points. That's it. And they don't have to return to a base or something. They just end their exploration there, and that's it. They cannot carry anything, so therefore they also don't get any money, right? Okay. So then I can buy a ship. Okay, now the question is, I'm sitting on 2 shares, okay? A share costs $100. That's the par value. So, and you always buy for the par value out of this public corporation share box. So, I'm pretty sure that even after 2 operating rounds, I cannot afford to buy myself a second share. Well, this guy will be able to do so. Yeah, I'm really short on money, so there is a good chance that I will not be able to hold the company here. What does that mean? Do I want to invest a lot in ships? I could buy up to 3 ships because I have a ship limit of 4. I cannot trade away the probe. You cannot trade ships between companies right now. So yeah, it's a ship limit of 4. That means I could spend $300 to get 3 ships. Do I want to do that? I mean, why not? It possibly makes sense, right? You get, I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense to do it. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. I'm pretty sure the only reason could be that I say I want Fastbuck to get one of the cheap ships. That's a reasonable thing to think about. Now let's see. If I buy 3 ships, there's only 1 single ship left. Okay. The next ship would be $75 more. That's a lot of money, and it's hard to earn that much money with only a single 1 ship for a company. So the question is, how are the other companies doing in comparison? So if I can make with this thing at least 30, something like $50 per turn. So that means I need at least, that's hard to tell, especially if I want to pay out. What about the others? Maybe it's a good idea to say, hey, I only buy 2 ships here, and in that way increase Fastbuck chances of getting a second ship. Technically, I could also say, fuck it, I'm only gonna buy 1 ship. Gosh. I hold 2 shares, but yeah, there are a lot of people who also hold a single share. So I don't lose that much money, or I don't earn that much money compared. It's a tough call. It really is. It really is. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm sure that Fastbuck will be able to buy a ship not in the next turn, but 1 turn after that. Okay? Because Fastbuck, and that is the big advantage of that company, will go first. If someone wants to buy that last ship, they must be able to do so during the next operating round. Now let's see. These two guys don't have any money. They can't do it. Even if they swallow, they won't make that much money. Not $100. This guy is sitting here at $12 right now. Okay, now he can in theory deliver 2 goods. He's sitting here. His problem is he didn't explore. So he gets a bonus for delivering nickel. You can see that here. But that's not going to be enough. Especially if you want to get the higher revenue, you need to lay a claim, which you can only do after you run your ships. So it's not going to work out. I'm pretty sure about that nobody has that much money left. This guy is sitting on 17. Yeah, okay. Nobody has the money left to buy a ship in the next turn. Now that implies that it's actually a good thing to leave only a single ship in here, because then Fastbuck will buy the ship and no other company will have the option to also buy that ship. Okay? Therefore, I'm going to buy 3 ships. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I mean, of course it means that these 2 ships will also rust, and then I'm sitting there without a ship. But I think at some point that's going to happen, but I think I'm fine with that. So I'm going to buy 3 ships. I'm going to make a little more money than everybody else, and I also make sure that Fastbuck is the only company who will actually get that additional ship. So that's pretty awesome for me. So that means you got to pay $300, and there we go. Oh, the question is only which type of ship do we actually want to buy? Okay, so we already have a probe for exploration. So it might be actually a good idea to say, maybe we're going to go with 3 tugs, because we can make a lot of money with 3 tugs. Maybe it's not a bad idea to have 1 ship. To do a little bit of exploration, to be a little bit more flexible. I think on a 1 to 4, I'm going to buy 2 tugs and 1 ship. Otherwise, I'm going to go with 3 tugs. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to buy 1 scout, and I'm going to buy 2 tugs. I think that's a solid combination. It's good to have a higher range, not only for moving around, but you need these also for some other things, and we'll get to this right now. So first of all, because we didn't pay out, the share value will drop. Now if you don't pay out, share value drops 1 space. Okay, what we can do now is nothing. Because you can buy bases, refuel stations, and ships from other privates. That's what I meant. Bases, refuel stations, and privates. You could buy now these things, but you can only buy that after phase 1. So we cannot do that. But what I can do is I can buy claims. And a corporation can buy up to 2 claims. A minor company can only buy 1 claim per operating round. So the thing is, the first claim that I buy in an operating round costs me $60. The second claim then costs me $100. So this is already getting pretty expensive, but usually these things are worth it. Because you want to pick up these resources here. And claims do two things. First, they prevent other companies from picking up resources on that mine. And second, you can see each mine has two numbers. And the claim gives you the higher value. So that can be quite a bit. Therefore, I'm considering placing I think I want to place two claims because I just can make much more money that way. So I want to place, I'm not totally sure. Problem is that I just cannot get very far. I would love to deliver that rare here. I could only do that with my scout. But I want the scout to explore. Let's say if I go here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically I could only go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would allow me to explore. Or I could, well, maybe I'm going to do it anyway. You know, I'm going to do that. I'm going to lay a claim here and a claim on one of these nickel. And I forgot one thing. For every space that you explore, the company gets $10 in the treasury. So that means because the company explored 2 spaces, they get $20 in the treasury. I'm not sure. I really don't know if I want to do that. I mean, the thing is, I purchased the scout for exploring, not for delivering the fucking nickel here, right? So you know what? Oh, the fucking rares there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually lay a claim on each of these nickel. That's a pretty expensive thing to do. That will cost me $160, but we have the money. I'm not sure how long I will actually own the company, but right now I can make a lot of money with it. So yeah, I'm going to lay 2 claims. As I said, the first one for 60, the second one for 100, and I'm going to claim these 2 spaces here because they give me each 60 instead of 20, and I think that's pretty amazing. Okay, so that's the maximum. I cannot lay more than 2 claims per turn. And that is then also the end of the operating round of the Trend Space Incorporated. And we go to the next operating round. So the privates paid out. Fastbuck received their money too, the $15. They're sitting now on 35, 38. And now the companies, the minor companies will again operate. Now every minor company owns a ship. That means that so by the way, if a minor company does not have a ship, the president is not allowed to help the company, you know. He's not obliged to do so, but he's also not allowed to do so. So the only way to get a ship, if it does not have enough money to buy it from the bank, is to buy it from another company. If that's not going to work out, the minor companies simply cannot operate anymore. Okay, so There's a solution for that, by the way, but we get to this later in the game. Fastbuck will operate first. Okay, so they now have a ship. That means they can explore, basically, they have a 5-1 ship, okay? So they can explore 2 spaces and still deliver cargo. They can, for example, go, where do they want to go? Do they want to go south? Why not? Let's say south, because it kind of helps the TSI, and he's controlling the TSI, so that's perfect. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's start exploring. Okay, that's not bad at all. That's an ice, and it's a good ice for 40, 50, and a solid nickel. Also good nickel, actually. It's the best nickel you can get. Okay, so that's a very strong start. Okay, the thing is, we have now 1 cargo space, and I'm gonna grab the ice right now. I gotta make this decision now, not at the end of my turn, you know. I gotta decide now exactly if I basically before I leave the hex, I gotta make the decision, do I want to pick something up there or not? Not after I see all the route. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, I think there are very few tiles that give you a better unclaimed value than 40 for the ice. But as I said, these are super rare, and it's also more valuable than doing that so-called mail run here, $30. So yeah, I'm gonna take the ice, and wait a second. Well, technically, what I had to do is, because I can only use each mine once per operating round, and that's a very important factor in the whole game. All the companies can use a given mine only once per operating round. So not individual companies like in your standard 18xx game, where you know all the different companies can go to New York or whatever. No, that's not possible here. You can fly through the hexes. There are no restrictions there, but you can only a single ship can pick up cargo from a given mine during the whole operating round. That's why claims are also so valuable, because it kind of protects your mines. Now, if you take ships from an unclaimed company, or usually, technically you should use markers to mark if you took something from a mine or not, and then by the end of the operating round, you're going to remove all these markers again. But honestly, most of the time it's easy to remember, and I'm not going to mark that. You know, so I'm not going to place a marker here. I think that's not necessary. Okay, so we're going to go here for $50, and then we are allowed to, we get $10 into the company for exploring. That's also important, you know, that simply gives us additional money. And then we are allowed to explore here and grab another tire. Okay, that's pretty awesome. That's a double nickel, and it's a good nickel again. So we have a lot of nickel in this area here, and that's kind of an interesting thing, maybe. We'll see. And yeah, okay, but it was a good decision to pick up the $40 here, because this only would have given us 20 per mine. So, and we have only the option to pick up resources from a single mine. And then with our last action, we go into a base. Why do we go into a base? Because you only get the money for the resources that you picked up if you end your movement either in a base or in one of these transshipment points. So this is a transshipment point, not a base. It can be another company space. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to get the money, you want to end up in a base. So obviously we want to do that. So we now made a run and we get another $10 because we explored a second hex. Okay, cool. So that means now we're sitting on $50. Okay. And now I made a run for another $40. Okay, cool. So now I have two options. I can either pay out. If I pay out with a minor company, the revenue is split 50-50, always. Means $20 for the company and $20 for me. I could also swallow, which means the whole money would go into the company. That would be $40 for the company. Now I would still be short. If I swallowed now, I would be $2 short. That's ridiculous, but it's a fact. So actually swallowing makes not a lot of sense. So therefore, I might as well pay out, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to pay out. Because in the next operating round, I'll be able to buy the ship either way. So I'm going to pay out $20 for me. And if I explore a lot, I might even get maybe enough money into the company to pay out. And yeah, I might even be able to pay out and still buy a ship next turn. Cool. Okay, so at the end, it's $20 for the player. Very good. Okay, it's Ice Finder. They also have a 5-1 ship. And now technically I could place a claim, a single claim here on one of these. But if I want to ship a second one, I'm not going to place a claim because that will cost me $60. That's a pretty bad idea. So then it's Ice Finder here, and they start down here at that base. And what's interesting is, first of all, they get $10 per ice delivery. When exploring a hex, draw and place a second tile if the first tile has no ice mines. Then return the first tile to the box. Okay. Cool thing is, in addition to that, there's a base here which also pays $10 per ice delivered. So that means if we deliver ice here, we get $20 with that in addition. That's pretty awesome. And we can go there because we have a scout. So we could actually go there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that would work out fine. So I'm going to go here and explore that space. And remember, I can draw technically a second tile if I'm not happy with the first one. But I am. That is already ice. That's pretty awesome. So we're going to place that here. We're going to pick it up immediately and go here. And that gives us already $60. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And I'm going to pay out. So it's 25 per 25 for the owner and 25 for the company. Obviously, it's 30 for the owner and 30 for the company, right? Next is Drill Hound. Okay, so they get 10 additional bucks if they deliver rares. And they're sitting up here, and there's also this base here, which gives 10 additional bucks for rare delivery. So that's also interesting for them. And basically it works the same way, you know. If they explore a tile, then they get, and there is no rare, they get an extra tile. So, I don't know, I say we start here, explore that tile, and hope that we maybe find a rare. And we are close enough to the company that we might even, we can even explore a second tile. However, if I draw only shit, you know, if I go like this, I could at least deliver the mail up here as a plan B, basically. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go that way. And look at that, it is already a rare. That's pretty cool for me. So, yeah, I'm allowed to... I'm going to... Well, wait a second. I explored a tile there. I easily forget that. These guys will get 10 more bucks here. Okay, but it will take them a long time till they get a second ship. That's the problem with buying a scout, you know. For fast buck it was okay having a scout at the beginning because they get that last ship or the last cheap ship. But the others, they have now a problem because they can only deliver a single... I mean, okay, they can explore a lot. That also gives you money, there is no doubt. So, they are sitting now here. And, yeah, I mean, they can then deliver... They can explore here, actually. But they're going to pick up the rares anyway. Okay, they're going to draw a second tile because... Yeah, these are the... Well, it's actually Drill Hound. And look at that! Holy fuck, that's another rare. And it's also a good rare here. Okay, very good, very good. That's really strong. Now they need a second ship. That would help them a lot. Okay. Okay, well. So the thing is now... I deliver here at that base. That gives me a plus 10. So that means I get 40 bucks. Means 20. I'm going to pay out, so it's 20 for the owner and 20 for Drill Hound. In addition to that, Drill Hound gets 20 bucks for exploring. So that means they get 40. And then I don't have the money to lay a claim. I really thought about that. I thought about claiming one of these rares. That would increase my income quite a bit. But it seems like I have to wait one more turn. Because I simply don't have the 60 bucks here. You can see already, this is a game which develops pretty slow. Especially at the beginning, there's not that much money in the game, and yeah, it's a slow running game. My experience was that it doesn't drag on that much at the end. I watched a playthrough of Callendale, and he was complaining about that this would usually happen, but from what I understand, he never played with the expansion. And these two additional companies, I think they speed up these late ships quite a bit, so you end up pretty fast in one of these higher phases. But still, there are 10 ships here, there are 10 ships here, there are 9 ships here, I think. Okay, you got all the minor companies, but still, it takes a while, and then you get to operate all these companies and so on. So, yeah, the game starts fairly slowly, actually. Next is Ore Crusher. Now, Ore Crusher make 10 additional bucks for delivering nickel. However, nickel is so common they don't get this discovery bonus with flipping or drawing 2 tiles. And Ore Crusher sitting here, they get a plus 10 nickel delivery down here. So they got a tuck. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So basically they want to explore this. And depending on what they get, they can either explore that and then go back home. No, they cannot even do that. 1, 2. Yeah. Okay, so basically they can only go 1, 2 and then go back home. Kind of sucks, but yeah, I don't see another option here. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to start exploring that space here. Now look at that. That's a rare. I mean, rare isn't bad, but it's not quite what they want. However, they could deliver the rare also here later in the game. That gives 20 additional. So that's not so bad. They're definitely going to pick up the rare for now, because it gives them 30 bucks. And then they go back in here. And they're going to pay out, so it's 15 bucks for everyone. I'm still not sure which ship is better at the beginning. I mean, you are really limited. If you want to... With a 3 ship, you're extremely limited at the beginning, because you know, you can only explore a single space and then basically go back. And even if he wants to explore here or something, he could not deliver the goods. So that kind of sucks. But I think at some point he's got to do it, to deliver here, because then he can kind of... it's a shame. It also... yeah, whatever. Okay. Company 5, Torch. Okay. Now Torch adds 1 to the starting movement allowance of all ships piloted by him. That's pretty awesome. So he has a tug, but that can move 4 spaces. That's a big advantage, I think. So he starts at he starts up here. Now, if he can deliver ice here, that would give him 20 additional bucks. The thing is, he could now also deliver the rares here, for example. We haven't marked that, but I remember that I picked up these rares, right, and explored that later. I am not allowed to deliver these again. But I might consider saying, maybe I can go here. And I could do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. But only if I not explore. And that's not worth it. That's not worth it. I want to explore. So I could go, for example, I think I'm going to go for ice. So if I go here, for example, 1, 2, and I find ice, I still can go here. If I don't find ice, I can go down here. I mean, I could go down here either way, because here I get an additional 30 bucks for the mail. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Now that's awesome. That's totally perfect. That's ice, and it's a very good ice. It's 50-60. That's exactly what you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the ice for 50 bucks, and then we're going to move here and grab the 30 bucks mail run. That gives us 80 bucks. That's clearly the best run by now, and damn, we're close. You know what? Holy fuck, you know what? I make another 10 bucks. Oh boy, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. I make another 10 bucks for the exploration of that thing, and guess what? I can buy the second ship, and that guy is host. Wow, that was crazy, man. And I think I actually forgot to give the 10 bucks here for the exploration. And did this guy get the 10 bucks, Drill Hound? I think he did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. But that is insane, because he made that amazing run of $80, which was really hard to expect. That means if he swallows what he does, he gets $100 into his treasury, and that's exactly enough to get himself a second ship. Wow, that's rough. I mean, okay, it's not that bad, because as soon as someone buys the next ship here, this guy will be able to trade ships, and because he holds the presidency of these, there's a good chance that he can transfer a ship to the other guys. But first of all, it's kind of questionable how long he will be able to hold the presidency. And second of all, it's also not sure when someone will actually buy the next ship. That might take a while, especially if that company doesn't get started, and if people are kind of focused on these shares here. Anyway, that's really awesome. I'm going to buy a ship, and because I got a good movement value with Torch, I might as well say I'm going to buy me another TUC. You know, they are very useful for me. And wow, I mean, this is just insane. That's a big boost for this guy. And in this case, yes, you can say luck was very important. I don't think that luck is super important in the game. Normally it all kind of evens out, or it often does. But this was massive. There is no doubt. That was just massive. And that was also not predictable. I mean, okay, he kind of could have known that there are these big ice tiles out there, but they're super rare. And so I think it still was the right decision what he did. But okay, I mean, these things can happen. Yeah, so okay, he ran the ships, then he purchased a ship here, or he ran the route, purchased a ship, and that's it. And now that's the last guy, and that's Lucky. And Lucky starts over here, and his special ability is whenever he explores a hex, he can simply draw 2 tiles and choose then which one he wants to use. So that's also kind of neat. Question is, where do we want to go? Well, I mean, here we get 10 additional bucks for nickel. Here we get 10 additional bucks. No, 10 for nickel, 10 for ice. If we go here, we get 20 bucks for the transshipment point. I mean, we have a TUC, so basically we can... it's pretty obvious we got to go here, right? Yeah, I mean... Well, technically I could also go into the other direction, because I would get a few additional bucks here. I would get 10 more bucks if I deliver here. But is that such a great idea? I might be more interested into moving in one of these 2 spaces. It's a tough call. Does it make a difference? Well, at the moment, I mean, I would get 5 additional bucks. I'm sitting on 75. Basically, I'm sitting on 100 bucks, which is enough to buy myself one of these shares. So these 5 bucks don't make a difference right now. So I might as well explore that space here. And I'm allowed to draw 2. And that is a good one. That is ice, a pretty good ice, and crappy nickel. Now that's a rare and a not so good ice. So you know what? I'm going to go with the nickel here. The ice and the nickel, because the ice gives me more money. I'm going to pick up the ice for 40 bucks. And then I'm going to move here, which gives me overall then 60 bucks. And yeah, problem is, if I want to explore... if I want to explore that tile, for example, to go to deliver the ice here and pick up something on the way, I'm going to lose one turn. But the fact that I can draw 2 tiles might be actually worth it. It's kind of questionable, but I think... okay, I think we got to do that. Oh, that's actually interesting. This guy is also interested in ice, the ice finder. Okay. So, that means I get... 60 bucks, so it's 30 bucks for the player, 10 bucks for the company for finding exploring the tile, and another 30 bucks for the company for the ice. Okay, now the minor companies have operated. We've seen quite a shock for that player here, and now it's the TSI, the big one. Okay, so what I want to remember is that this mine is already empty, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to touch any of the others, I guess. So the TSI has now they got 4 ships, which is a ton. Okay, so what do we want to do with these 4 ships? Well, I think oops, sorry for that. I think one of them definitely... I could go here with 1 run, but that's not so good. I could make 2 runs, 1, 2, 3, and I can hit these transshipment points as often as I want. So I could make 2 runs, each making me 90 bucks, right? 60 for one of these claims, so I pick up 1 claim and then go to the transshipment point for 30. So that would be pretty awesome. That's already 180 bucks. I'm going to do that. I'm going to use my 2 tucks, making these 2 runs. Then I've got the 5-1, and yeah, I can basically use that for exploration purposes. So I think, yeah, why not? Just let me see. Okay, I think I want to use my, yeah, I want to use my, I'm not sure. I got a probe. Okay. Does that matter? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to use the probe to explore. Basically, I think I want to explore these 2 hexes here. I kind of might help this guy, but he also has the ice here. Yeah, I want to explore these 2 hexes, I guess, with the probe. So let's see, that is a rare and an ice. That's pretty good. And that is another rare. Now that is interesting, because I can deliver these rares here for a lot of money. And so all I need is a way to get there, basically. And that's not so easy with these slow ships. But there are possible ways. I could use a real fuel slot here. We get to this in a minute when I can buy these guys. Now I can't. But or I simply wait until I get one of these ships. But that's pretty cool. So anyway, that gives me 20 bucks into the company for exploring these 2 spaces. And then I'm going to use my 5-1 ship and go 1, 2, and then deliver here. Okay, that's another 2 nickel. And an ice and a nickel. Okay. I'm going to pick up the ice, or it doesn't matter actually. I can also simply do the mail run for 30 bucks here. Okay, so that means first I get another 20 into the company for the exploration. And now what I can do is, okay, I can now deliver, I already said that. I'm going to deliver 30 bucks in here. And the others make, I think it was 180, right? It was 90 per run. So it's a 210 run. So it's 21 per share. Company pays out. Okay. So yeah, they paid out. And if you pay out in this game, no matter how much you pay out, you always move 2 spaces forward. Now what you can do, you also have the option to pay out only half. So if you pay out half, you always move 1 space forward. And if you pay out fully, you always move 2 spaces forward. So swallowing in this game is actually no big deal, because it's easy to move ahead, right? And you need a lot of money in this game because you got to pay for all the infrastructure. There's a lot to pay for here, and it's really expensive. Now, the thing is, we want to lay another claim, at least one. We have enough ships to make a lot of money with claims, and yeah, 1, 2, 3. So, I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? I mean, I could deliver, obviously, here, the rares, 20 additional bucks. That's a good amount of money. Especially here, you got 70 and another 80. That's a good amount of money. The other option would be to aim for the nickel. If I go here or here, I get 10 additional bucks for nickel. Now the thing is, what we can do is, you can already easily see that the distance is far away, right? So how can you get there delivering the nickel, for example, from here to here? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. I mean, even the scout of the next phase only goes 6 spaces, and if you want a better attack or so, how can you get there? Well, what you can do is you can build refuel stations. Every base comes also with a refuel slot. You are allowed from phase 2 on, so we're not there yet, but a company may build base refuel stations on one of these slots, and basically, we're going to get a little more in detail when it happens. You can basically refuel up to 3 movement points at one of these stations, which is not totally by coincidence exactly what you need to get from here. If you're here at 0, 3 more spaces here, same thing here, right? Or from here to here, that's always 3 spaces. So these are options, right? And we got to keep that in mind if we want to decide now what we want to deliver. But yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, placing 2 claims here is a lot of money. You only got to go 1 space to grab 120 bucks at that space. That's really a solid amount of money. And the problem is, well, we could go 1, 2, 3. And from here we could go, yeah, 1, 2, 3, or even back. So we could make $120 easily. You know what? I think I want to do that. So I'm going to place another $160. It's a lot of money, but I think it's worth it. 340. I think you want to really place your claims aggressively in this game, because hell, they just give you so much money, right? And I'm gonna go again for the nickel here. Now the thing is that this company has a ton of claims. There are not many companies. I think only there are very few companies that have that many claims. So we don't have to be too afraid. We can still claim the rares. I mean, of course, there's a chance that other companies will do it, but right now only the miners are operating. How likely is it that they go for a claim? Well, it's not that impossible, but I kind of doubt it. I don't know. We'll see about that. But I think it's a solid idea to go there, and it makes me money. It makes me more money at the moment than the rares because I cannot get there, momentarily at least. So I think it's okay to go for the nickel right now. Simply deliver it then here at that base, or that transshipment point, or at that base here, and it's fine. Okay, that's all I can do. And yeah, I paid out. So the operating round ends. We come to the next stock round. Player 1 is still totally shocked by what happened here. That was absolutely not according to his plan. And well, most players have about $100 in hand. This player a little more. This player a little less. Yeah, so he's sitting on 150 or so. This guy on 70 or something. The other's pretty much on 100. I think the most likely thing is simply that these 5 shares, oh yeah, there are still 5 shares in here. These 5 shares probably will be sold to all the players who still have the option to buy them. This guy does not have the option, which means, because he's first player, well, I don't know, one of the guys, he also can't do it. Holy crap. Yeah, nobody has the money to buy 2 shares at the moment. So not even all the 5 shares will go away. I mean, in theory, people could also start a new corporation if they work together. But basically that means to start a new corporation you need a little more than $300. So at least 3 people must work together. I do not see that happening. I think people are going to invest in the TSI. It makes the most money right now. Everybody who can afford to buy a share of these will do so. And it's going to be interesting because this guy, for example, cannot oh yes, he can. So he might then be able to protect his presidency if he's then sitting on 30%. I think he's safe. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I already enjoy the game and hope to see you on the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.